Hey guys, Fred Wellman with the MeidasTouch Network, host of On Democracy with FP Wellman. Crazy day yesterday in D.C. The National Defense Authorization Act was up for amendments and passage in the House, and we had heard for a while that the Freedom Caucus and all the crazies really plan to take advantage of NDAA. We call it the NDAA for the insiders. It's your Washington insider talk. Was going to be a great place for them to pass their culture war values, and by God, did they ever come out. Now we're already dealing with Tommy Tuberville and his bullshit hold of 265 general officer promotions over 6 months now, impacting the lives of military families, making it very hard. But now we've got every idiot in the right-wing extremist movement, the Freedom Caucus and everybody else, using our National Defense Authorization Act as their place to get their little culture war issues in and do a lot of really evil shit. Look, they've always wanted a national abortion ban. They want to ban books. They want to stop transgender care. They put all that in there. And it was a pretty contentious day up there up on the Hill. I mean, you may have seen some clips. Thanks to our friends Asen, Aaron Rupart, and others who provide clips. Some of these clips are just insane. And when things really got heated was especially after. So former Navy SEAL Eli Crane, who's from Arizona, he got up to defend a bill, an amendment to the bill that he put in, talking about how he doesn't want to have anything included in race-related or religion or political in recruiting efforts. And he said this, and well, you could see how it goes very easily.
Arizona.
Well, Mr. Chairman, though that was unbelievably inspiring, my amendment has nothing to do with whether or not colored people or black people or anybody can serve, okay? It has nothing to do with color of your skin, any of that stuff. What we want to preserve and maintain is the fact that our military does not become a social experiment. We want the best of the best. We want to have standards that guide who's in what unit, what they do. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the North Koreans, they are not doing this because they want the strongest military possible. I hope my colleagues on the other side can understand what we're doing. Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, it's going to be recognized to have the words colored people.
For what purposes, gentlelady, seek recognition?
I'd like to be recognized to have the words colored people stricken from the record. I find it offensive and very inappropriate.
Yep. Colored people. He's rolled it back, desperately trying to roll it back. But, he said what he said. Interesting fact, you guys, one of the most least diverse organizations in the entire United States military is the Navy SEALs. Over 71% of Navy SEALs are white. But hey, we don't need that DEI. They ended up passing an initiative that literally outlaws or bans any funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion training programs to include the employees that are in these programs right now. They won't be allowed to have any kind of discussion of these issues. This is a huge problem, but it gets worse. Old Lauren Boebert had to roll on out with her book bans. She wants to ban her some books. The funny thing about it, if you watch this clip of Lauren Boebert getting up, doing her Boebert shit, the best part is the fact she doesn't even know how. If you're an insider, everybody calls it DODEA, DOD Education Activity, DODEA, not DODEA. But she doesn't know that, because she's, stupid. But let's watch Lauren try to defend the idea of banning books for the students of our service members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in favor of my amendment, which prohibits Department of Defense Education Activity schools from purchasing and having pornographic and radical gender ideology books in their libraries. The Department of Defense Education Activity services over 66,000 military-connected children in the Americas, Europe, and the Pacific. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle will mischaracterize this amendment as extreme. All the while, the Biden administration has spent the last 2 years promoting radical gender ideology to impressionable young children in K through 12 schools throughout our country, including our military schools. Now that's extreme. Speaking as a mother of 4 boys, enough is enough. I don't send my boys to school to receive indoctrination from the woke mob or to be sexualized by groomers. And the same can be said for our service members who are also parents sending their children to DODEA school.
Old Lauren, her righteous rage. She doesn't want them seeing porn. It's evil. So now we've got, we've banned any kind of DEI initiatives, so we can't talk about race anymore. They've banned books. They've been really mad about the abortion issue. That's why Tommy Tuberville's thing is doing his thing. And don't worry, the day before, the reasonable Republican, remember our reasonable Republican friends, the reasonable Republicans, our friend Nancy Mace was on CNN, saying how look, we got to be more careful with these abortion things. We're going to lose close races, if the Republicans keep pushing for these abortion bans. She and her colleagues had some thoughts on it. So CNN's Manu Raju had some discussions with them on the Hill. This is the day before the passage of the vote.
Continue to have amendments and bills that are not going to be compassionate to women, and we're going to lose seats, we're going to lose races because of this.
To dive the Pentagon into such a political issue, I think was wholly unnecessary. We asked the Pentagon not to do this because we warned them it would politicize the defense bill process.
A small group of people isn't just saying we want to vote on things that we care about. They want to say, if we don't get what we want, we'll tear the whole thing down.
Hey, good news. Nancy Mace, she's out there telling them the truth, that they pass all these abortion bills and these amendments, they're going to lose votes. They're going to lose women. She voted for it. I mean, you kind of knew that was going to happen, right? It's Nancy Mace. She says one thing on TV, but she ain't going to go off the party line, is she? Old Nancy Mace. She is consistent, if nothing else. You keep putting her on TV like she's a reasonable Republican, but there aren't any, okay? The big one that we also want to talk about that really has me pretty upset, to be honest with you, is Matt Rosendale from Montana showed up, and he's put in an amendment to ban all transgender and gender-affirming care and therapy and hormone care for service members, but not just service members, and TRICARE. Now, this is key. I'm going to let you see Matt Rose. I want you to see Matt Rosendale. Now, look at Matt Rosendale. You're going to think to yourself, oh, he must be a veteran. He's from Montana. Now, he never served a day, not one day. But Matt's an expert in the military. But I want you to listen carefully what Matt says in this clip of him defending his bill. Just listen to the numbers very carefully, and we'll talk about them when you're done.
Speaker, today I rise in support of my amendment 194. 194 is a very simple piece of legislation amendment. It would prohibit TRICARE from covering sex reassignment surgeries and hormone treatment for transgender individuals. The most recent numbers tell us that the Department of Defense has performed over 240 gender reassignment surgeries, costing taxpayers approximately $3.1 million. Unfortunately, that's just a small part of the costs associated with this transaction. The department has also spent over $11.5 million on psychotherapy. That's it, psychotherapy for service members with gender dysphoria. The amount of funds paid out for this psychotherapy shows that the surgery alone cannot solve the root issue for these individuals. This does nothing to help our troops continue to be the most effective fighting force on earth, and is nothing but a distraction and a waste of valuable taxpayers' dollars. The government has no business funding these procedures on the taxpayers' dime. The question that must be asked is whether we're having trans individuals makes the United States a more lethal force, and whether it helps recruit the best and most effective talent for the United States military. And the answer to that is a clear and resounding no. A report commissioned by General Mattis found that service members with claims of gender dysphoria are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide than other service members. It also found that these individuals are 9 times more likely to have negative mental health episodes than other service members. As Thomas Spohr, a former Army Lieutenant General, put it, if those with gender dysphoria are at a much higher risk of suicide, crippling anxiety, or mental breakdowns than their peers, those serving next to them will be reluctant to rely on them. Permitting them to serve also violates the principle of not placing individuals at greater risk of injury in harm's way. Madam Speaker, to summarize this, anything that does not contribute to making our fighting force the most effective fighting force on earth is nothing more than a distraction. And I will not ask the people of Montana or the United States to pay for it. I reserve.
Did you catch that number? 240 surgeries. Guys, do the number on that for a second. 240 transgender or gender affirming surgeries. And it doesn't say that they're just service members, because you know what? Many of our families go through the military system for their health care as well. 240 total surgeries. Guys, they probably do that many knee surgeries at Walter Reed in a day. I mean, honestly, they probably turn that many surgeries on one day at Walter Reed, any given day. He didn't give you how many years that is. I believe that's 240 total transgender surgeries in the history of DOD for a whopping $3.1 million. While we've been talking on this video, one unit of the United States Army spent $3.1 million flying their helicopters from Fort Campbell to Fort fucking Knox. That's chump change in the military budget. And then he goes on to say, and this is where it really got me upset and why I'm mad Fred today and not friendly Fred, $11.5 million on psychotherapy. Oh my God, folks. We're spending money to take care of our soldiers and service members and sailors and airmen and everybody else who are having troubles because they're American citizens. And did you know that transgender people have served in our military in its entire history? There is historical proof of transgender people serving the military honorably. And matter of fact, someone pointed out, one of his colleagues pointed out in her rebuttal that more by a percentage of service, transgender people serve more than most Americans in general. They want to serve their country. But you're talking very, very few people. But what's really insidious about what Rosendale's doing is he's outlawing it using TRICARE. TRICARE is the military medical insurance program. That's how I, as a retired military officer, get my health care, as well as my kids and my wife. Okay? My daughter is a military spouse. Her kids are military dependents. They use TRICARE. He's outlawing this amendment. This guy has got an amendment that barely passed that basically makes it completely impossible for anyone who serves and their family members to get gender affirming care for their real issues, their real beliefs, and the real people who they are. He's making it illegal for any of them. And let me tell you, this is why we have a recruiting problem. My friend Ben Kessling at the Wall Street Journal did an article about 3 weeks ago talking about the troubles we're having in military recruiting. And it's not woke policies. It's because so many people who have served and so many people who serve see how they're being used as political pawns by people in Washington, D.C., like the entire Freedom Caucus, and none of them have served. And the ones who did serve are not our representatives. They're a pawn. Imagine, why would I put my family through not getting a promotion or being allowed to move and go to a new school because one senator decides he doesn't like a policy? Imagine putting my family through not being able to get health care they deserve and they need because their child is transgender. Imagine sending your kids to schools where the idiot from Colorado decides which books they can use in the library in international schools. Why would a veteran like me tell our kids to join? That's why military is having recruiting, because for years now, the number one source of military people, believe it or not, as a block, not percentage wise, but as a block, are military family members. It's a family business. My family's, also military crap you see in here, my family has served since before there was the United States. One of our colonial ancestors served in the French and Indian War. That's how it works. My dad's a World War II vet. My son is a veteran of the 82nd Airborne. My son-in-law currently serves the United States Army. It's a family business. And people who have served as the family business are seeing this kind of stuff. It's not woke policies or wokeism that's causing people not to go. It's assholes like Kevin McCarthy, who had this to say at the press conference after the bill passed.
And second, all down with Democrat-led Senate's hands. What message is the House sending to the Senate with this bill?
Just focus on the military. Stop using taxpayer money to do their own wokeism. A military cannot defend themselves if you train them in woke. We don't want Disneyland to train our military. We want our men and women in the military to have every defense possible. And that's what our bill does. The money focuses directly on their quality of life, and more importantly, on the investment.
Yeah. He's mouthing the old Ron DeSantis line about wokeism. We don't want Disneyland training our troops. And right behind there, you see Elise Stefanik with her little grin on her face. That's why people are frustrated. They don't care about the military. They care about their little pet projects. This is their way to pass a national abortion ban. This is their way to pass transgender care bans. This is their way to book bans. Think about all the things they passed in that bill. Book ban, transgender care, DEI. I mean, abortion, all the culture war issues passed in the National Defense Authorization Act. Now, here's the thing. For those who understand the process, this goes to the Senate. The Senate will have to negotiate. No way this passes the Senate. Just no way. Half the stuff, none of the stuff's going to pass the Senate. Although, we're talking Manchin and Sinema. Who fucking knows? Then they'll have to go to a conference committee. Well, here's the funny part. Marjorie Taylor Greene already put out that she decided to vote for the bill in the end because old Kevin McCarthy promised her a spot in the fucking conference committee. Yeah. So who knows when we'll get an NDAA. I hear rumors already that military units are already making plans for their budgets to be cut or to have to shut down, lay off civilian employees already. They're already talking about canceling schools in the fall because they won't have money to send people to schools because this bill will not pass in its present form, and President Biden will be forced probably to veto the defense authorization bill. All because the Republicans want to pass their 4 culture war issues and force them on our service members. Yeah. Can't wait to see that. Oh, by the way, these are the America First people who are worried about our national security. No, they're not. Actions speak louder than words. Trump can hump every flag in America, but it doesn't matter when his party is destroying our national security. Anyway, more to come on this one. I'll keep you informed. Thanks for watching. Again, I'm Fred Wellman with the MeidasTouch Network. I hope you join us here. I've got new shows every Friday night. This current one's a banger. I hope you'll catch it. Everyone come. They always post Friday nights at 11 right here in the MeidasTouch Network. Talk to you soon.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.